Standing in my office doorway holding a tepid cup of coffee, 24-year-old Nolan Vance flashed a smug smirk that instantly made my blood boil. Just a month prior, he was a clueless intern struggling with standard software updates. Yet today, because his father was corporate titan Victor Vance, Nolan was somehow being crowned chief tech architect over the multi-billion-dollar enterprise platform I spent 14 years building. I looked from Nolan to the massive monitor showing 48 million lines of proprietary neural network code, every single byte engineered by my own hands. Nolan demanded that I hand over the master encryption credentials so he could take full control of my legacy. Instead of backing down, I smiled calmly and informed him that I was actually initiating my custom-built safety override, causing the arrogant grin to instantly vanish from his face. When I executed the classified authorization protocol that only I knew existed, red warning alerts began flashing across every server terminal in the headquarters. Nolan dropped his ceramic mug in absolute panic while his father, Victor, began receiving panicked calls from board members. That would not stop for days. Before I break down how I reclaimed a $6 billion corporate empire line by line, let me explain how this whole nightmare began. My name is Ryan Prescott, and 14 years before Victor decided his spoiled son deserved my life work, I was a broke software engineer holding a pile of loan rejection letters. The whole academic community laughed off my revolutionary concept for self-adjusting neural algorithms, claiming it was computationally impossible and decades away from reality. Unwilling to wait, I built a custom server, rig in a cramped apartment and coded, virtually alone for 3 solid years. Living off cheap meals and sleeping 3 hours a night on a worn couch, I poured every ounce of sanity into developing the core engine. I still vividly recall crying in the dark at 3 a.m. When the prototype finally executed its first dynamic self-optimization cycle flawlessly. By year 3, I had transformed a wild mathematical concept into a fully functional software ecosystem, capable of revolutionizing global enterprise computing. That was when smooth talking investor Victor Vance entered my life after hearing rumors through a former university colleague. Meeting me at a quiet diner, Victor possessed that magnetic charm that immediately made you feel like you were destined for greatness. He proposed a 50-50 partnership where he would manage business strategy, board meetings, and venture capital, while I retained absolute authority over tech development and architectural decisions. We shook hands on that equal arrangement, and for the next 5 years, our relentless dedication turned a tiny startup into a booming industry powerhouse. I worked 18-hour days writing technical documentation, refining security protocols, and managing our growing engineering teams, while Victor secured massive enterprise contracts. By year 8, our software was managing global supply chains, and by year 12, our public company valuation surpassed $5 billion. Despite our massive corporate growth and hundreds of employed engineers, every single critical system, algorithm, and security vault still relied entirely on my original code architecture. I assumed my foundational importance meant I was completely irreplaceable until Victor quietly brought his son Nolan into the company. Fresh out of college with 0 real-world engineering experience, Nolan was given a plush position solely because of his last name. I assigned Nolan basic integration tasks, but his code was consistently full of fatal errors, and his technical understanding was completely non-existent. He possessed astronomical arrogance paired with 0 work ethic, ignoring my constructive feedback while complaining directly to his father about being held back. Within a year, Nolan was barging into executive meetings, positioning himself as a corporate visionary while quietly laying the groundwork to steal my title. The sudden blow landed via a company-wide email announcing a total leadership restructuring, reassigning me to a secondary advisory role while Nolan took over as principal architect. Reading that message, I felt absolute fury at being pushed aside after 14 years of relentless sacrifice just to make room for an incompetent Nepo baby. I immediately marched straight into Victor's office without knocking and demanded to know why he was stabbing his founding partner in the back. Victor offered cold corporate excuses, claiming it was time for fresh blood and that I needed to step back so I could mentor his son into the role. He wanted me to quietly train Nolan, hide his massive mistakes, and then gracefully slip into early retirement while they took full credit for my creations. I looked Victor dead in the eye warned him that he should have reread our original founding contract, and walked out without another word. That night, I dug up our original paper partnership agreement, signed in that quiet diner, before corporate lawyers got involved. Hidden inside Section 12 was an explicit clause stating that all core, intellectual property, and foundational code remained my personal property, merely licensed to the corporation. Crucially, the agreement stated that if my operational authority was ever diminished without written consent, I held the absolute legal right to revoke that software license with 90 days' notice. I immediately contacted my longtime legal advisor, Vivian Vance, late at night to review the validity of that ancient contract clause. Vivian confirmed that while subsequent corporate restructurings took place, that foundational license agreement was never formally voided or superseded in court. She warned that revoking the license would vaporize the entire company, giving me immense legal leverage to fight back against. Victor betrayal and reclaim total control over my life work. Over the next 3 months, I quietly prepared my strategy while documenting every single line of foundational code I had ever created. I built a covert system extraction script directly into the server architecture, designed to isolate my 48 million lines of proprietary software without destroying physical hardware. Meanwhile, Nolan managed to crash key client databases twice in 90 days, sending company stock plummeting, while frustrated engineers began resigning in droves. That brought us right back to the moment Nolan strutted into my office, demanding the master encryption credentials so he could pretend to be a lead architect. When I executed the extraction protocol instead, the monitor revealed that my proprietary code accounted for over 63% of the company whole software ecosystem. Nolan stood frozen in sheer panic as the system tagged every single core, algorithm for immediate reclamation. Realizing his entire stolen career was about to disappear, Victor rushed into my office minutes later, red-faced and furious after being yanked out of an urgent emergency meeting with terrified investors. I handed him a fresh legal demand requiring 51% controlling interest in the company, the immediate demotion of Nolan to junior developer, and my appointment as executive chairman. When Victor claimed the board would never agree, I reminded him that without my code, his $5 billion empire was literally just an empty shell. Faced with complete financial ruin and catastrophic public embarrassment, the board unanimously voted to accept every single one of my terms within 16 hours. 3 weeks later, press releases announced my return as majority owner and executive chairman, while Victor was stripped of operational power and Nolan was placed under strict engineering supervision. On my first day taking over the boardroom, I made it crystal clear that nepotism was officially dead and only real capability would ever be rewarded. 18 months have passed since that intense showdown, and our enterprise is currently achieving record-breaking growth while expanding into cutting-edge artificial intelligence markets. Nolan actually accepted his demotion, worked hard under proper mentorship, and eventually earned a legitimate junior role through real effort rather than entitlement. I keep a framed photo of that server extraction screen on my office wall, serving as a permanent reminder that you must always protect what you build.